The Super Nintendo, the official 90s console of every cousin's house you used to go to, and you tell your mom, "Hey mom, can I have a Super Nintendo?" It's like, "No Timmy, you cannot have a Super Nintendo, we just bought you a Sega Genesis." So yeah, this thing right here, aside from the Sega Saturn, the Super Nintendo is one of those consoles that I never used to get as a kid, mostly because it was expensive than the Sega Genesis. Because of course, obviously, I didn't realize it a few years later that the Sega Genesis was a lot older than this. But it was an awesome console. I mean, every time when I would go to a family friend or one of my cousins' places, I would go there and literally they would have my cousin and his friend, and they would play this thing constantly for hours without me getting a turn. And I used to cry all the time. You know, it was to a point where, like, when they just got tired of playing this, it was almost time for me and my parents to go home. I'm like, oh crap! And I used to, like, you know, cry because I never got a chance to play this thing until couple of years later, in the 90s, of course. I went to another family member's place, and one of her children wasn't there. You know, I was pretty bored, you know, but I was forced to go anyway. And she said, "You want to play with the Super Nintendo?" And I was like, "Oh yeah!" And he had a very extensive library. I'll tell you that for sure. He got Mega Man, the Mega Man X games I played to death. I'll tell you that for sure. And it was an awesome time. But it was great to see, you know, playing this game. And I always tell my mom, "Please get me one, get me one." But to no avail until, of course, things started to progress, and of course the newer stuff coming in, and so I kind of lost interest. Believe it or not, I got this in 2005, just because of the nostalgia's sake. This is before the whole nostalgia retro gaming kind of kicked in the around the 2010s and the 11s. I mean, now this thing costs $50 to sometimes $100 for just this alone. Are you freaking kidding me? But yeah, I mean, this was a really awesome console. Both, I have to say, the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo were the best. Though, you know, as I grew a lot older, I did not really like the design of it until I saw the Japanese version, which I have myself. Just look at this thing. Wow. You guys, especially in Europe, are pretty lucky to have the Famicom design, while we got stuck with this boxing looking design. I guess Nintendo... for us, I guess Nintendo of America thinks that we like boxy stuff, not really round and circle type things, I suppose. But still, it's kind of dumb to not get this version, because in my opinion, I think this would have turned out a lot better. And imagine the cost of redesigning this thing from turning to this into this. Must have cost them a lot of money, and I pretty much guarantee you the costs were kind of passed along to the customers, and I think it was not fair. But still, you know, it's an awesome console nonetheless. I mean, I don't know, guys, what you prefer, the Famicom look or the Super Nintendo look? Please let me know in the comments. This is Sentai22, and thanks for watching.